Hey everyone. Looks like we've got a few people in here already. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so feel free to leave comments. I'll try to answer questions as always, but of course, we do want to stay focused. Hi, Amber. Hi, Amber. Edie Wallace, I got questions. Good afternoon. Hey, Karan. Yeah, we'll try to stay on topic. And in advance, I want to apologize to anybody listening. Please do excuse me. I had a pretty bad sinus infection over the last 48 hours and allergy issues. So I'm a little bit under the weather. So if you do hear me clear my throat a bit more frequently than usual or have the sniffles, I apologize. I know it sounds annoying, but you know, I've been working through it. I probably haven't slept as much as I should, so that doesn't help you recover very quickly. But yeah, I do apologize if that at all gets in the way. I try to cover the mic and turn away as much as possible. And there it is. So okay, I'll just give it another minute. Good afternoon, everyone. Keith, Damelin, Jeff, Raza, welcome. We'll wait another minute just for everyone to join in, and then we'll get started on this. I think this is a really important topic because I think there's a lot of people who are this is their number one issue. It's not the trades. I mean, if you just followed my trades, didn't even take your own. Hey Maria, very happy to have you. TGIF. If you just follow my trades and you're disciplined, you know, even if you had to maybe didn't time the entries perfectly, and you re-enter and you size your position, you'd be so far ahead. But it's nothing new. I've speak to private clients. I've spoken to just friends, all kinds of people, and they struggle with that. Hey Jacob, yeah, I actually I touched on that. I called for chop this morning. Actually, I put a tweet out saying, look, I expect the opening to be choppy. Definitely a topic for me. Made a mistake taking out Amazon. Hey Stanley. Yeah, definitely is a topic, and it's an issue. It is I think it's the number one issue for most people. That's why I preach a lot about discipline, and that's why I don't think the furu style is very. It's even more detrimental to people. I try to have sort of a tight program, you know, with profitstaken.com. I talk about that a lot, but what I speak about on Twitter, I keep things very very tight, and I talk about discipline and stop losses. Whereas, you know, what you get with a lot of accounts is they're just calling out random trades throughout the day. They're like, oh, I like what I see on Shop. I like what I see on AMD. AMD making a bull move, Shop or NVIDIA moving down, and then people just randomly grab whichever ones, and, you know, you're ultimately going to have huge winners like that and huge losers all over the place, but there's not an actual foundation to the way that you trade. And that's the biggest issue for most people, right? It's the foundation of how they trade. So, Stephen H., I can just do that really simply. I wanted to get into NVIDIA. I didn't avoid it. I actually really wanted, I talked about that. I wanted to get into it. I would have taken it, and it would have been a stop loss. I even said so in my live space. I said, I count that as a loss because I 100% would have taken it. I just happened to be on AMD. So that just went well, but the play on NVIDIA just didn't work. Learning not to chase, sell the build up, by the invasion scenario playing out. Yeah, it's not Putin, Chuck. It's sort of our media cycle, right? So like nothing happened this morning, but this just gives you an idea of how powerful things are. Nothing actually happened. Someone just said they're not optimistic, and now Secretary Blinken, and that was it. That was it. Tank the markets, right? I brought that up. Let me just pull that up really quickly before we dig in on mindset, but just to show you, right? And Raina asked the question. She said, what happened at about 8 a.m., right? Well, here we go on SPY. Let's roll back to 8 a.m. I posted a screenshot. Secretary says he's deeply concerned that Russia isn't embarked on the path of diplomacy. Nothing happened. He just said, I don't think they're going to, I'm pessimistic, right? So it's about 8 a.m. Here's within 10 minutes, shoom, right? So, you know, I'm not saying, I have no political statement on this, but I'm saying It's just the conversation around the topic. And it's providing an excuse for a sell-off as well, right? So you never know how many people are connected to. You have to ask yourself a question, and don't put your tinfoil hat on and get too deep into this. How many people knew Secretary Blinken was going to say what he said? Because he has a prepared speech, right? Somebody writes that speech. And that wasn't decided this morning at 6 a.m. That was decided yesterday that he was going to give a statement, and this is what his statement was going to be. So how many people knew that? You have to think about that. People definitely knew, because there's at the very least, there's a speechwriter, then there's people who approve of it, then they ensure that there are people covering that statement, then it's going to be distributed, right? Things are planned out. It's not like he was just on a podcast hanging out, having beer with Joe Rogan and happened to say it. It was planned out. So people definitely knew, is what it is. So, you could think about that a lot, but that's what happens to the markets. Was that sort of to tank the markets? It doesn't really matter to me. If you're trading with discipline, that's why I say like all of these things can come and go. But if you're trading with discipline and strategically, you're going to do well. And that's why I think that people who adhere to the way that I discuss trading will have the best chance of being successful, as opposed to when I call it all the furu stuff. The furu stuff, if you're naturally good and you happen to get some lucky call outs, or even if someone is good at calling out, you might do well. And 99% of people won't, because they're not sure how to strategize. So how to keep stop loss. So let's talk about adhering to stop losses. And I want to pull up a good one's AMD. NVIDIA is too easy there, because it's just you stop out and you're out, right? But AMD goes both ways. And a trade that goes both ways is really important. So mindset is critical, and let's look at this. So AMD, you could have taken it right here, but obviously I was looking at the QQQ and I was looking at sort of the pullback, and this is what we were seeing at that point, right? Pullback. Here we get a bit of a move up. AMD was sort of consolidating, and then it's pushed down. I saw the move up. I jumped in, and that's what I was looking for in NVIDIA as well. I didn't take NVIDIA, but I would have stopped out there. And I'm very, very, you guys know this, anybody who follows me, I'm very quick to say, one, you should never expect to get the absolute peak, and two, yeah, you stop out. I get some plays that don't work. I posted it with a stop sign on AMD. On NVIDIA. So, let's talk about this a little bit, because this is critical. So you make a move up here. We're 51% ahead on your entry, approximately. You get a little bit of a better fill. Maybe you're like 55. You get a little bit of a worse fill. Maybe you're more like 40% plus. Either way, if you're exiting strategically, you're now in a situation where you should not suffer a loss. Moreover, you should not break even. This is profits only at this point. You're up 50%. You're not leaving without money if you're trading discipline. If you're hanging on, you could take this and you could take a loss. You could take a big loss, because AMD continues to break down and then eventually starts coming right back, almost triggers again. But you take a loss. So the play was primed well. We started getting a move up, but it was very much dictated by the market. And I've noted this frequently. So if you want to examine, do I have insight, or is this just furu lucky guessing? How many times this week have I gone out of my way to say, hey, markets are in control? Someone says, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow? So I say geopolitical factors are in control. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. I'm not on the inside. And I thought everybody's guessing. People are like, oh, bullish, bearish. You see every kind of opinion, and no one's qualifying why. They say things like they're going to have to run it up. Who are they? What is this? Are we talking about the Illuminati? I don't know, because I know the geopolitical factors are in control, and it could go either way. I also know that it's not even to the extent that we need to see something happen. If you're having me guess, I would say I don't think there's going to be military conflict in Ukraine this week. It doesn't seem like it's happening that imminently, and that would be a guess, because that's not my specialty. But it doesn't even matter. Like we saw, just the comments on it, just saying, I think it's going to go poorly. If you're a person in a powerful position, you can tank the markets. So I've said that's what's in control. So I'm watching very closely on how the markets react. The markets show a little bit of optimism, and then I said we'll see some chop, and then we'll find a direction. And we absolutely did that. And what do we see on the QQQ? We saw chop, up, down, find direction. I posted this explicitly. So I'm hard on people, and I say, make comments and be definitive as much as possible. I either say I don't know, and that's as definitive as it gets, because I'm saying I just don't know, or chop, direction. And the direction is down. Not a surprise, because the last piece of data that we have is negative, right? And now we're saying we do not see a full-scale invasion on the territory of Ukraine, but that's not positive enough, right? So back to AMD. What happens with mindset here? What can happen when you get into a bad position? Well, there's a few things to consider, and I want to go over this step by step, because it can ultimately cause you to lose your confidence. And something I've been researching is psychology and how it pertains to trading. Now, there are no clinical studies that are specific to trading, but the concepts are very similar when it comes to loss, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to, serotonin levels in your brain. Side note, I have an education in neuroscience, but that's different from psychology, but they're tied in. And one of the things that can happen is you do have chemical changes in your brain over a long period of time. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, let's break this down one by one. There's the people who get into a losing position. So let's say for some reason you took AMD and you didn't get out. Well, this should be easy for you, because there's nothing that prohibits you from taking profit, right? You should be able to take profit here instead of holding on. So maybe I'll go to NVIDIA, right? I'm not trying to focus on, Facebook's too easy, because Facebook is a 100% winner, right? Like if we look over here, you took Facebook, you could not have lost, even if you tried, because it's puts. It triggers here and it goes this way. The only way you could have lost on Facebook is if you bought here and you sold here and it hadn't even moved 10%. This is an absolute winner. Let's take, most of the trades are winners, but let's narrow in on one that's more challenging, because that's where you help people, is where they face challenges. And unfortunately, a lot of people can win frequently, and then something like this, they'll just hang on forever. So NVIDIA, what happens? This is where I was looking to get in. I didn't have an opportunity, right? But let's say you get in here. You stop out around here, minus 10%. But what if you just hold on? Why do people hold on? Let's talk about that first. What is it you're thinking, and why do you hold on to a trade when you're in a losing position? So, I did a lot of thinking on this myself, but I also, of course, I researched clinical data. I hate the idea of random furu kids trying to explain psychology, because I always think, I'm like, who the heck are you? You have no life experience. You're going to tell people how to live now and how to think? I don't even feel comfortable with the topic, because what my career success and my trading success means I could tell you guys how to properly think. So I really, really want to try and keep this narrow. I don't think of myself as above anybody as a person. I'm sure you guys make better decisions in a lot of places than I do, and are much better at infinite number of things as opposed to me. This just happens to be where I specialize. Like, you've seen my career and see the things that I'm really good at. Doesn't mean that I'm perfect and great at everything. I'm sure everyone in this channel and everyone who follows me has a multitude of things they're a million times better than me at. So, I don't like the idea of trying to preach how to think, but this is important, and I can narrow into my area of specialization. You start to take a loss and you're at minus 10%, and then you tell yourself, I'm going to hold on and wait for a turnaround. I think people do that, or let's see where it goes. And it could be minus 8%, minus 12. Why do you take it down to 15? Well, because you think maybe there'll be a turnaround and I should hold on, I can tough it out. What happens when you're here at minus 20? What happens when you're at minus 40? What happens when you're at minus 50, 70? And no, it starts to slow down, because, that's the way it works with losses. How do you get there? And why do you get there? And this is really, really serious. And if you have to replay this in your head 1,000 times and write it down, then write it down. Part of what happens is, let's compare this to everyday life, right? How do you think about tough situations? Because I would describe it as a tough situation. If you entered here, and then really quickly you're here and you're at your stop loss, and now you're past your stop loss. I think what a lot of people believe is that it's virtuous to overcome difficult situations. And I think most of you would agree with me on that. In normal life, outside of trading, when you're in a tough position and you're down, it's virtuous. It's a good virtue. It's a good thing to learn, to be resilient, right? Don't be fragile. Don't get your emotions hurt easily. Don't break easily. If you get put down, stand back up. If you lose your job, come back. Hang in there. These are all good things, important things. Someone makes fun of you, come back. Get back on the horse. I'm giving you all the different terms for it. You get knocked down, dust yourself off, get back up. Times are tough. You bear with it. You bite down, and you pull through, right? This is something that we learn is a good thing in life. And typically, if you tough it out and you put in the work, you get rewarded, right? That's how we perceive life. That messes with your head when it comes to trading, because trading is counterintuitive. You don't get rewarded for trying to tough it out. I think a lot of people hold on and they go, no, it's going to turn around. I'm just going through, it's just a little bit tough right now. This is a bit of a test. I'm going to get the reward. And here's the problem, is that there are some times when that can happen. And that really messes with you, because now you have false evidence. Now you've got something in front of you saying, hey, if you just tough it out and you stick through it, it's going to turn around. You got rewarded. And that in your mind, we're wired from when we're little kids. Like, your parents teach you that. And if they do, they're doing something good for you, teaching you to be resilient, teaching you that a small setback should not discourage you. That's good. Trading is different. It is counterintuitive, and you have to frame it differently. All right. You have to look at the overall accumulation of your trades. I talk about that a lot. No trader bats 80 or 90%. Anybody who's saying that, knock it off. If I were to say like my win rate, it's probably, I don't know, on individual trades, maybe close to 60, maybe above 60. And that is considered absurd, right? That's why I'm so big on the fact that I call out trades in one direction, because I don't do the whole, like, I discount my losses, but I talk about my wins. Look what I've pulled up. We have great trades today. I pulled up the only trade where you could lose, and that's the one I want to focus on, right? And last week, the only trade I wanted to talk about all week, so many big winners, I only wanted to talk about AMD on that Friday because it was a loss. Because you have to be honest with yourself. And it's not virtuous to hang on to a trade. You're not living normal life where you're being tough and you're hanging on and, oh, I'm going through the tough times and I'm going to turn it around. This isn't like that. You have no impact on this. It's not about you. It's a number on a page. You're minus 10 or whatever your stop loss is, you stop out. Because if you actually believe in the long term, you really do believe in the long term, then you don't have an issue cutting a single trade. And that's just the way that it goes. You can't frame it differently. If you start to think, I need to hold on to this trade, I need to stay in, I need to tough it out, it's not about toughing it out, right? So that is the psychology that is involved in not taking a stop loss. You're worried that it's going to turn around and that you didn't tough it out long enough. No, the tough thing to do is cut the trade. Cut it. It's a loss. Get out of that trade. The idea didn't work. Your entry didn't work. Whatever it is, it didn't work. And it's hard to accept that you're wrong, right? You look at how much research and time and effort I put into a trade. Think about how long I've been doing this, right? I don't like being wrong. I have a great career behind me. I was a CEO of a tech company by the time I was 29. I did great at P&G. I'm used to being successful. So you'd think I hate a trade that goes against me. I don't like it, right? I hate that. I don't like that, particularly because I hold myself accountable even when I'm sick. I want to be on trying to help people. But it's not about my ego. It's about reality. It does not go your way. You're out. That's it. And I accept that as well, because you know that you're not going to be perfect all the time. And it's okay. Failing in a trade doesn't make you a failure. It does not make you a failure when you get a trade wrong. The failure element is when you don't stop out. So you need to sort of reframe that in your mind, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to lose this money today. I put in $1,000, I'm down 10%. Oh, I'm down 100. I don't want to lose 100. I'm a failure. No, but you are a failure in this moment. You're failing, not you are a failure. You're failing if you don't stop out. Understand the difference? Making it worse and not doing what you're supposed to, that's failing. So when you think of your success and failure, think of it as a trader, not on an individual trade. And that sort of helps reframe. Now, one of the other things that can happen is you can have a string of bad moves, maybe because you're undisciplined, maybe because things just didn't go your way. For any variety of reasons, you can have a bad run of luck, and it can shatter your confidence and, excuse me, prevent you from staying in trades, prevent you from trusting your own ideas. So the research that I did talked about a few things here. And one of them is going to be a little bit heavier. Well, they're both going to be kind of heavy. So to those people who feel like they really just can't trust themselves, they're down on their confidence, they just don't believe in what they're doing, and you're somebody that you're up 17%, trade's going perfectly, it's going your way, you drop 2% and you're out. That's the first sign of trouble, or first sign of what people say, a red candle or a pullback on price, you're out. And that's going to hurt you because you need those bigger wins, because even if you only win 40% of your trades, you can be profitable if your wins are bigger than your losses. So that starts to happen, right? Or you see like a small loss and you just let it go. There's a couple things here, so I'll list them in order. One, we're all familiar with the term PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder. And we tend to think of that, and people overuse it these days just because, pop culture life, like, oh man, did you see that episode of ABC? I have PTSD from that. No, you don't. Knock it off, right? And I don't like to throw this term around because I have just so much respect for the people who've incurred that through their service and military and first responders, or even people who've just had the misfortune of having something really traumatic happen to them. It's not a joke to me, so I don't like throwing terms around. But there is a form of that which can occur even financially. I mean, excuse me. If you want to think how serious it is, you guys have all heard of the great market crash in the 20s, right? And people jumping out of their windows. That's how serious finance is. Remember, there were a lot of suicides where people just jumped out of their windows on Wall Street, just drop like 30, 40 stories because of the losses they've taken. That's how traumatic it can be. And there's nothing soft and easy about losing money. Now, you shouldn't be losing more than 10%, but it can happen such that an accumulation of losses, particularly if you did hold on and you took big losses, can scar you in a way that is similar to post-traumatic stress disorder, where you will now have it baked into your mind that the worst is going to happen. And we learn through our experiences, right? So if you've been, the saying goes, it's a profound saying for a reason, once bitten, twice shy. So if that's you, and now you're struggling to trust yourself and your ideas, it's because you're in the once bitten, twice shy category. And I get it. That's not a bad thing. Evolutionarily, that is a good neurological and psychological adaptation because it protects you, right? Like if a snake bit you and it messed you up, and you see a snake again, you're going to keep your distance, and that's a good idea because you've been bitten once and you don't want to go through that again. Similar with trading. But that's why I talk about the need to have short-term memory in some respects and not get too high, but not get too low. Like when I have a great trade, I try not to think about it too much. When I have a trade that goes against me, I try not to think about it too much. I perform my analysis the same. That's all that I know when a trade is done. I have analysis to perform. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less, but it has nothing to do with the way that I perform. So there is that element of what I call an association with PTSD-like symptoms. And I'll talk about how to work out of that rut in just a moment, because I said there was another element as well. And this one was tough to sort of get my head around, but I see it in a lot of behavior of people who like to take a gambling approach, who know better and still like to do something opposite. And I don't know who this applies to or doesn't, but I'll mention it because it's a serious topic. And this is all a preview of sort of what I have coming in a different psychology video. There's an element of self-loathing. And this takes some honest analysis because I don't know everybody personally. But my hope is that it helps even just one person. And maybe there's a small element to this that taps into other people. Self-loathing is a very serious thing, and it's far more common than people think. What is self-loathing? It's exactly that. Does it mean you walk around saying, I hate myself, slapping yourself? No. But does it mean that you sabotage yourself? Absolutely. Right? And you'd have to look into your own life, your personal life, and a lot of other areas. Do you ever sabotage yourself? Do you ever know that you could do something, you just mess up and you do it the wrong way? Not because you couldn't have done it better, but just for some wild reason beyond you, you make these mistakes that you know you shouldn't. That's called self-loathing. And it's actually, again, very, very common. Just going through, looking at psychological literature, it's very common. It's actually extremely common. Could be because you feel guilt over certain things, and these days everybody wants to guilt everyone about everything. Everyone's bad. It could be that you don't feel you measure up to certain standards. I can't, the scope of this isn't such that I can perform a full psychological evaluation. That's not what I do. I'm not a psychologist. But you can self-sabotage yourself in trading. When you're looking at your stop loss saying, I know I should stop out, and you don't. When you're looking at your position sizing saying, yeah, maybe that's right. If I have $2,000, let's try to limit this to $500 per trade, give myself 4 opportunities in the day and then stop out. And then the moment a trade comes around, you go, oh, it's moving up. I'm going in $2,000, 100%. Excuse me. That's a form of self-sabotage. Now, understanding why, there's a lot there. What is my formula here? Okay, excuse me. Just one moment. I did note at the beginning I've been a little bit under the weather, but I really wanted to do this. So what is the formula there? Well, the way to overcome is through exposure. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look in psychological literature, the way to overcome anything is through exposure. Like if you're afraid of something, you don't avoid it because your fear grows, right? If you're afraid of dogs and every time you see a dog, you turn around and run, you're deeply wiring in a response, a neurological response. And that is where I do have an education, neuroscience. That when you see dog, it equals flight. So fight or flight response, that's a real thing. And so that can happen with trading as well. And that can happen when there's an element of self-loathing. Because if you taught yourself, like, I don't deserve this, or I should do this, it'll only be good if I make 500%. I'm in a losing position, burn it all, let it all burn to the ground. Exposure is the formula and the way out. If you're horrified of dogs, you need exposure to dogs. Maybe you start with a small dog. You probably don't want to be near Doberman Pinscher, right? Or a Great Dane, because that will just terrify you because they're big. So maybe you start with a small, docile dog, or like an amazing dog like a beagle or something. Or never know, their howling might scare you. And then you stay 10 feet away, and the dog sits down. And you get 5 feet closer. And you get a little bit closer. And then you stand there and you stay calm. You just relax for a minute. Doesn't mean you start picking up the dog and letting it lick your face. You stay calm. And we're going to tie this into trading in a moment. And then you get a little bit closer. And the dog's sitting calm, probably looking at you, wondering what's going on, but it's probably staying calm. And then you're in a controlled environment. Maybe someone is the handler of the dog that and there's some trust there. You put your hand on the dog and maybe you pet it once. Maybe just once. And then you take a moment and you sit there. Maybe you just stay in the room that day. Maybe that's your step forward. I stayed in the room with the dog and I was okay. And you were terrified of dogs. I wasn't ready to get close to it, but I stayed in the room. And the next time you come 5 feet closer, and the next time you sit right beside the dog and you hang out. And the next time you pet it once. And then you get exposure to different dogs. So how does this tie into trading? Well, if you're completely rattled with your confidence and you can't stay in a trade, or if you just can't stick to those stop losses, no matter how much you tell yourself you will, no matter how much you promise yourself, even if you've looked at a deep red day before and said, man, I'm never letting this happen to me again. So first of all, that was me at one point. So much for the whole, you do everything perfectly, 100%. No, I learned the hard way. And I tell myself that, and I'd still come back and define insanity by doing the same thing. I blew up a few accounts, and that's why you saw my post yesterday. I said, if I ever have the opportunity, I want to help people because nobody helped me, and it really, really, really hurt. Because as I said, I didn't come from much. My parents were immigrants. We didn't have a lot. It sucked. I didn't get my first car until I was like 23, 24, and I grew up in Canada. It really sucks when you don't have a car, right? Like it's freezing cold. I mean, literally, it's horribly cold. It sucks. It broke my heart. I couldn't pick up my prom date for school because I didn't have a car, and we only had one car in the family. And my parents wouldn't let me borrow it because if anything happened, we wouldn't have the one car. So things really sucked for me, and I promised that I would, share some of these deep, horrible things that happened to me, and in my trading, and try to. Caps Ottawa says hello with her. Someone just said Ottawa says hello with our 2 inches of snow overnight. I grew up in Ottawa, and I don't mean that your city sucks, Caps. I grew up there. But you guys get it. I mean, it really hurt. It was deeply painful, and I've always promised I would do it differently, and I do it honestly. I'll talk about my wins, talk about my losses, stop losses. Overall, I'd say my record is absurdly high compared to anybody else, and I'm willing to call directions. But I've gone through this pain, right? So you get to -10, and you just don't do it. Even if you've been deep red before, you tell yourself you're going to, and you don't. Or you tell yourself, I have a great trade theory. I have to trust myself. I'm going to stay in this trade. I'm going to do it. And then the first sign of trouble, you panic and you're out. So how do you change this through exposure? Pretty Lily, yeah. I learned more, but I'll get to that in a moment. How do we change this through exposure? Well, size down. I've been saying this pretty frequently. If you can't trust yourself with $100, why on earth would you think that it's prudent to trust yourself with $1,000 or $10,000 or $25,000? Or think of it this way. If you gave somebody $100 and said, hey, make these trades and stop out if it gets to -10, and then you can exit and scale out as you want to. Imagine you gave your money to someone else that wasn't you. Just think about that for a moment. And then you looked at their track record, and they were supposed to stop out at 10%, -10, and they came back to you with -40. Your answer to yourself is for some reason you're so forgiving with yourself. It's like, oh, I messed up. I don't know why I did it. I held on. What would you do if it was somebody else, like a stranger that you hired? You'd lose your mind on this person, and you'd say, what the hell did you do? I told you -10 is my tolerance. And if their answer was, I don't know what happened. I thought it was going to turn around. You would either be looking at taking legal action, or, it might escalate to something worse than that. You would be beside yourself upset, right? Let's be honest for a second. Everybody, give me your feedback in chat. How would you feel? You hired somebody and you said, my tolerance is -10. If you're really convicted, you can go to 12, 13, maybe 14 if you absolutely think this is a blowout. And then they come back to you, they go, okay, I went all in on that trade and I got out at -50%. What'd you do? You gave them $100 or $1,000. Would you ever let them see another single penny of yours? Never, unless you hate money and yourself and money. Never, right? They're fired. That's right. You're fired. I'm sorry, that's my Trump imitation. They're fired. You're out. You're fired. You're fired, and you might get sued depending on how much money we're talking about, right? Okay. So fire your old self if you're doing this. You can't get rid of yourself. You have to keep trading, but you don't deserve, and I hate to say it this way, you don't have that privilege of trading as big as you used to. For whatever it is, whatever reason it is, you can't stick to it. Doesn't matter if you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to change. No, you keep doing it, right? It's an abusive relationship you're in with yourself. You keep doing it. You've done it, and you've done it more than once. You don't get one shot. Because remember, everybody here is saying they'd fire a person one time. Any second chances? Would you give this person a second chance? Particularly if they gave you an answer like, I thought it was going to turn around. No, because I told you, I don't care if you think it's going to turn around. -10, get out. -12, get out. 14 or 13 at the worst. They didn't. You'd fire them. There's no second chance. So why do you give yourself another chance with the same amount of money? You have to change something. You have to change something. And you can't get rid of yourself. God, please don't get rid of yourself, because that doesn't sound good. So what do? You have to change your sizing. Something there has to change. You can't do it again. That's why I say it. And guys, I'm going to speak a little bit more casually. I try to reserve my language and, do everything the right way, but I'm being a little bit more harsh here because it's so important. I'll speak to you the way I speak to my friends, minus a little bit of the profanity that might slip in, because I get crazy with friends and family when they don't adhere to stop losses and then call me or ask me about things Why do you deserve to play with that same amount of capital? You're not holding yourself accountable. You had no repercussions for blowing up your account. You have no repercussions for not adhering to your stop loss, other than saying, oh, wait for the next trade. Look, everybody's a hero when a stock goes straight up, okay? That's why I'm not looking at the Facebook trade right now. Everybody's a hero. Because the worst you could do is just not take as much money as you should have, right? You could just go from 135% in Facebook to, let's say it came down and you took 40%, and you'll be, ooh, I feel good, 40%. No, actually, that was a terrible trade, because you just dropped from 130 to 40%. That's not good. You shouldn't be celebrating. But you could let yourself off the hook and you can lie to yourself, right? You can't lie to yourself when you take a loss past your stop losses. There's no change. There's no lying here. You don't deserve the opportunity. I hate to say that. You don't deserve. You have not earned the opportunity to play with that amount of money yet. Now, let's take the other side of it. Exposure. How do we build back up, right? Because you might have legitimate reasons as to why you're in that position. You build back up through exposure. It was like the dog analogy that I gave. You don't get to take as many contracts. Show that you can do the same job. You could do things right with $100. Like when you see minus $10, or let's say $500, right? When you see minus $50, if that's too much and it causes you to panic, you go, oh my God, I can't lose minus 50. I got to hang on. Because that's what some people do. They say that they're not stopping out because they can't afford to lose that. Well, why did you wager that much? First of all, why did you go in with that much sizing? If you can't control your nerves for a small amount that is far less significant, right? Take a quarter of your normal position. Then you are not going to control your nerves when the stakes are higher. You understand? Again, let's reframe that. If I give you $1,000 to use and you can't control your nerves in the situation and stay disciplined when you get into a tough spot, why do you think you'd be okay with 10,000? That's 10 times the pressure. That's 10 times the stakes. You're not going to do well. You're going to implode. You're not going to know what to do. So why would you do that to yourself? It can come down to self-loathing, right? Or you just have a stress disorder that you haven't overcome. Exposure. Scale down. Take the nerves off. Go in smaller. Show that you can do it. You don't have to be rich tomorrow. Don't worry if you see someone posting on the feed saying, I made $5,000. I made $2,000. Who cares? That's your business, right? Whatever money I make, this is why I hate the whole furu thing, because it's so destructive. It's so like, oh, I'm balling out, bro. Look at my car. Good for you. You're a donkey. Sorry, I'm getting back into my... grew up in an Italian neighborhood, and that's a very common insult we use. But yeah, it's dumb. It's the dumbest way to perceive money. Those are the people who go on roller coaster rides. You hear about people who win the lottery and then lose their money. You hear about that all the time and they go bankrupt. This is why. They take that attitude. They take the like, oh, I'm buying all kinds of stuff. I'm going crazy. They're on a roller coaster ride, and roller coaster rides end where they start, right? Roller coaster starts down here, and you go up, and you go on a loop to loop. You go around. It has to come down here to let you off, and that's how trading goes. Takes you for a ride. If you want to trade that way, drops you off here and then lets you off. And guess what happens when you're let off? That means you're done trading. You're out. You're off the roller coaster. You took the wrong ride. You should be driving a smooth drive. Don't get on the roller coaster. Get in the golf cart. Get in the golf cart to go where you're going, because you can control the wheel. You might move slower, but you're going to get to where you're going, not the roller coaster. So you need to size down and just give yourself exposure so that you can begin to trust your trading. And don't look at things as a missed opportunity, right? What do I say sometimes when I cancel trades? I say, hey, it already went our way and made a move. Roblox made a move. Great. Okay. I'm happy that I knew where it was going. So if you position out because you're disciplined, don't worry about trade taking off in your favor. You have to stop and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm more confident. I see it went my way. And I don't feel bad because I got a little piece of it, because I'm trading, I'm gaining exposure step by step. And if it goes down, you can say, hey, you know what? You have to praise yourself for avoiding losses. Like if I was here in a video and it peaked here, and let's say I was up 10%, you'd have to have a perfect entry, or 15%. Let's just imagine. And it came down and I stopped out at break even. I moved my stops up. Even if NVIDIA did this and then came down, I'd be praising myself saying, I avoided that 10%. I avoided a bigger loss. And maybe it would have been fast moving and I wouldn't have been able to get out until like 13%. Praise yourself. If you only praise the upside and not risk mitigation, you're not going to see it as something that you're aspiring to. Does that make sense to everybody? If you're only celebrating when you make the money and you're just looking at stop losses as this terrible thing, you're not properly wiring your mind. I celebrate getting out properly. I celebrate minus 10. I say, whoa, that was good. So NVIDIA, let's say I took it today. I'm minus 10. I'm out minus 10. I'd look back on this and I'd be like, yeah, that's why you're a successful trader. Good for you. It's already ingrained in my mind, but I had these moments where I stopped out and I started walking away, changing the way I thought about it. And I'd be like, good for you. You used to hold on and you would have taken 30, 40% loss before. All right, that's awesome. And I started looking and I'd look and see how far down it went. I'd be like, oh my God, I would have gotten torched 3 months ago. Okay. It's not the same as I made money because I can't think of where I'd spend it, but it'd be like, my account would have drawn down a hell of a lot more. Praise yourself for risk mitigation. Praise yourself when you don't exit a trade early, right? If it's in adherence with your strategy, you have to have rewards in your mind. Reward yourself for doing good things. So a reward system is very much something that's clinically, psychologically proven. You guys already know this. I don't explain it to you. We understand rewards and we understand punishment, right? Put your hand on something scalding hot, you'll be punished. Put your hand in the right place, you'll be rewarded. Do work, receive money. Reward. Don't do work, no money. Punishment, right? Do good things happen. Do bad things happen. Rewards versus punishment. Why aren't you celebrating when you avoid the losses? Let's stop to take a few questions. I've got some backing up to do. So we all agreed we'd be firing people. Let's see here. Regained your confidence after blowing up your account, Marcos Gonzalez. I realized I was doing something wrong, Marcos, and I just reflected on my life to where I was, and I just felt like I can't keep doing the same thing. I have to be doing something else. I have to be doing something wrong. And so through exposure, I sized down and I hated it, and it sucked. And even though I was stopping out when I was supposed to, and I was taking gains when I was supposed to, it was a weird feeling. And I'm going to be honest, it was like after the first week or two, I was positive, I was green, but I still didn't have that. I hadn't developed a habit. Things take time to build habits on. It's like changing your diet, eating healthy. Even though you feel good, you're still like, but I want ice cream, right? So it's similar. I kind of felt like that. I was like, I felt good and I was making money, but I was still like, I want to size all in and go YOLO. Not quite YOLO, but I wanted to go heavier. And a part of that was, instead of thinking about myself as a trader, I thought about the dollars and I thought about other people. So I thought about how other people had more money than me. And then I started thinking, and this was a problem for me when I was just first coming up, was like, I spent my whole life where everybody had more money than me. Why is it always me? I hate this. This sucks. I'm tired of this. I'm going to start, I need to move faster because it's my time. And that's an unhealthy way of thinking. Then I started thinking the dollars and cents, I'm being disciplined. But after 2 weeks, I was like, I'm up $1,100. It's like, I've lost 20. And so I had this thought in my mind where I was kind of like, what do I do? I've lost 20 grand and I'm up only 1,100. It felt like it sucked. And I'm just being honest because you might be in the same position. Because instead of looking at the 1,100 I made over 2 weeks, I was fixated on the fact that I'd lost almost 20. I was like, I'm nowhere near. And I started sitting down and I'd tell myself not to. And I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to think about it. And then I'd pull out a calculator and be like, so I'm 10%, I'm 5% on the way back, right? I have to make another 19 just to get back to where I started. It took me 2 weeks to make 11 and I have to make $19,000 more to get back to where I started. It's defeating. It really felt gutting because it felt like it was taking away from all the positive progress I made. And then I'd start thinking, I'm like, okay, what if I just expanded my stop losses? That way I could have bigger wins. That way I could get back to at least break even. And then what I'll do is then I'll calm down and I'll start being strict once I'm back around break even, because I just need to get back that money that I lost because I don't want to lose that money. And I don't like the way my life is financially now. And then I'd guilt myself too. I'd be like, man, you grew up poor. You could have helped your parents with this. You could have helped your family. You could have changed your life. That's $19,000 you're down. You got to get that back. And I put all this pressure on myself. And it was just so stupid of me. But you can understand where I'm coming from. And I'm saying it out loud. And I'm sharing this because it's a reminder. I like to remind myself of sort of the embarrassing things. And this was a big deal. Because what I should have been focused on is, hey, that's 1,100 in 2 weeks. It's going to get bigger because I'm going to size up. It's going to get bigger. So I fought myself on the weekends. I fought inside my own mind. I'm like, okay, well, I've done this good 1100. Why don't I take this and just get more risky with it? Because it's gains. Then I was like, no, you're down. So it took a little while, but I just decided, I'm like, I've been through this roller coaster too many times, and I know where it ends. It ends with me getting kicked off the ride at the end. And I go up, down, swirl around, and I end up down. There's never anywhere else on a roller coaster except for, I mean, like in real life, you've been on a roller coaster. You get off where you get on. That's it. The bottom. That's not good. You go for a ride, and then you get off. That's how trading is. That's why I'm using that analogy. It's so perfect. And I just told myself, I'm like, I'm not doing it because I like what I have building, and I'm not thinking of the past anymore because I was a different trader, right? And I'm like, I just got fixated on who I was as a trader. I'm like, no, the trader I am is up 1,100 in 2 weeks. That's the trader I am. I can't think about the minus 20 because I like think about yourself as a human being when you make a change. Do you think about the way you thought when you were like 4 years old and punish yourself and go like, oh, I got to make up for being dumb and not knowing this when I was a kid? No, you don't do that. You have to let that go, and you are the product of what you do going forward. And I just started thinking of it that way. It's like, if I stay fixated on what I've lost and that becomes like my reason for making trades, this is crazy, right? And I got 5K in my account that I'm trying to build back up to make up $20,000 losses, and I'm going to feel like I have to get there ASAP. That is insane. I'm going to have to get a 400% return on my capital, and I'm trying to do this like ASAP. That is furu land, right? I told you, that's why like the way that I explain trading to everybody is so different. If I just wanted like 100,000 Twitter followers and 50 times a day where I could post 400% gains, I could do that, and I could maybe just do this one day as an example, because I'd just be calling out different stocks. And I see people who do that, they're like options flow specialists. When you lose, it's your problem. Who cares? There was no system in place anyways. And if someone's lucky, they'll be like, I'm part of the whatever gang and crew and team and league and whatever. I made 500%. You just repost that person, because there's so many potential moves all throughout the day, and you can go calls and puts. But that's not going to build wealth. That's the roller coaster ride. Up 500%, down 300%. So that's how I turned it around. I just started focusing on, I don't feel embarrassed for the way that I behaved or thought when I was 10 years old, because I was a different human being. So I'm not going to focus and feel horrible about the money I've lost in the past. You can't do that in life, right? That's self-loathing. That's looking for a reason to hate yourself. Like, does anybody here get angry that when they were 10 years old, they didn't know things or acted silly? Or maybe you have a great relationship with your parents now, or someone else when you were whining and you were a brat when you were a kid. You're not going to beat yourself up over that, because it's normal life. So let me take some other questions. Josh saying, great point. Praise yourself for not avoiding losses. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? If you're a fighter, I'm a big fight fan. You don't just praise yourself for hitting people. You praise yourself for the shots that you dodge. You have to be defensive as well. So it's the same idea. Let's see. Caps, yeah, potentially. Potentially. I have some videos on scaling in and out. And I saw your comment earlier. 2 feet of snow. That's it's terrifying. It's plus 25 here. Just to make you feel a little better today. Josh Tatum, PT for president. Thanks, Josh. I think I posted yesterday. I've been approached about a political career. I have zero interest. I don't think I'd get along with anybody. I think they'd all hate me because politicians are furus to me. Even worse. Good question. No, I want to do. Okay. Short-term memory. Yeah, sort of. Giving us 1,000 to help calm our nerves. Monopoly money? Sure. Blowing up house money. Yeah, Cameron. That's a good one. Cameron says my problem is blowing up house money. No, it's yours. Once it's on your P&L, that's your money. You're not blowing up the house money anymore. You can't think that way. If you want to build wealth, everything that you're in profit on is yours. You can't think of this as, well, it's not my money, so if I lose it, it's okay. No, it is your money. You know why? Because it's not house money when you lose, right? When you lose, you're never like, the house just gives you some back and lets you play with the bottom side. No. So you can't perceive the upside that way, because you can't be loose with your losses, and then when you're ahead also be like it's house money, because then it's all house money. It's never yours. No, it's your money. It's your money when you're ahead. It's your money when you're down. If you're up 44%, and you let that come down to 15%, you didn't lose house money, you lost your money. It came right out of your wallet. You just took a loss. You just transferred from your dollars to some other trader, probably an institution. Just like when you lose and you go in negatives. Anything that's yours is yours to claim. You do it strategically. You don't think about it as house money. It's not house money. It's on your account. It is yours, and you just gave it away. You need to realize you just let someone take you for your money for no reason. I know that's a little bit harsh, but that's the reality. There's no house money. Thank you. Spot on. Adam H. Yeah, exactly. But you can't think about everybody, right? Because if you expanded, this is the problem with social media. If you expanded your horizons and your thoughts such as to gauge against all the potential good outcomes of any situation and contrasted it when you have a bad situation, you would live in a perpetual state of depression. You know? Like if you have a bad day and then you just jump on Instagram and everybody's like balling out or a great day, went to the beach with the kids today and everything's good, and you only focused on that and you change your perception that this is reality, you're going to be like, my life sucks. No, people celebrate their highlights. Remember that. Highlights, not their lowlights. So don't worry about what anybody else is doing. They have nothing to do with your life. This is your life, right? No one's going to pay your bills if you lose your money, right? And you're not going to give anybody your money if you make it. So focus on it as a one-player game. Let's see here. Paul Brillhart. Hey, Paul. I think, did I block you earlier? I'll unblock you. I think I blocked somebody who was going off spamming. Yeah, just FYI, guys. I try to never block people, but if you send me like rude, profane stuff and weird images like some people, you will get blocked. And if you keep spamming the page, you get blocked. And don't swear at other members. Let's see here. But yeah, if it's you, then I'll unblock. There was somebody. I don't think it was this Paul. It's hard to answer because I'm sure it's dynamic, but you enter it all at once. Yeah, Damelin. So what I'll do is I'd leave space for more entries. Damelin asks, if you're going to buy 5 contracts, you do all 5 at once? Well, it's not so much about the contract number. It's about the position sizing. So again, if you have, let's say $2,000 in your account, I'm trying to pick an amount that's very realistic for everybody. And if you have more or less, don't feel like, oh, the average is 2, I only have 1. No, you could have $500 in your account. I'm just picking an easy number to work with, right? So if you have $2,000 in your account, it's not so much about how many contracts you buy. It's about the percentage of your account that you're allocating to that trade, position sizing. I don't like anything over 50% for newer traders. And like when your account gets bigger, you certainly aren't going in high percentages. But let's say that you're $2,000 approximately. I think 50% is aggressive, right? So then you're limiting your potential loss to $100, which is about 5% of your overall account, right? Well, exactly 5%. I also like the idea of, maybe going with a fourth of it. So like $500, right? So today on, let's say AMD, you could have bought 3 or 4 contracts, because then what happens is you have an opportunity to re-enter. So you enter once, doesn't work out, you enter again. If you entered NVIDIA twice, then that would be two stop outs. Maybe the next trade you took was Facebook and you break just above even. I believe TraderCat was saying something like that happened. So TraderCat took NVIDIA twice and stopped out of NVIDIA twice and then took Facebook and made money on Facebook and pretty much ended up a wash on the day. That's cool. We had, I think it was Manifold Wisdom. I'm just going off memory. I have a pretty decent memory. Who took AMD for a stop out, but then took AMD for profits and Facebook for profits, right? And there's a lot of traders just like that where it's the accumulation of your trades, right? And this also will help you if you're someone that sort of suffers from the broken confidence. It's like, look, it's not one trade. Don't let that one trade shake you. Look through the page day. And I praised this, right? Because it's not furu style trading. I praised it and said, good for you. Good. And I retweeted and said, hey, this person took 3 trades today. Yeah, they happened to grab NVIDIA and it went wrong. But they also took AMD and they also took Facebook and it ended up way ahead. And there was even one person who said, look, I lost on AMD. I took the early entry, lost. Then I got on NVIDIA, lost there too. But then I got in on Facebook. So they took two 10% losses, and then they took a win for 90%, right? So you go 1 for 3, and you go up 90%, down 20. So your net's plus 70. Just if we're calculating it that way, it's not really how it works, but your net, you're ahead, right? So think of it this way. If you went in $1,000 each, right, on a 3,000, let's say you have 5,000 in your account. Let's say you went $1,000 each. So you lost 100 on AMD. You lost 100 on NVIDIA. You're down 200. You made 70% on Facebook. You're up 700. Your net, you're up 500 now. How are you up $500 even though you lost 2 out of 3 times? You lost 66% of your trades, but you're up $500 because you were disciplined. And so this is the sort of thing you have to keep in your mind. That's part of mindset, because you have to look at the bigger picture. But when you're in a trade, it feels like, no, this is the one that has to win. No, it's not. You have to win as an individual overall. Okay. So let's kind of read through and see if there's any questions. Caps, yeah, I started training when I was 18, just for a side question. BJJ, yeah. So yeah, like about 20 years into it. Brandon Wesley, when do you suggest taking profit when having just one contract? I said it's trailing stop, right? And I do mine mentally, but I use a trailing stop. If it's one contract, that's what I do. I don't often trade one contract, but sometimes I get wonky little fills where I go for more. The other day, I think, was it Palantir? I tried to trade 100 contracts and I got 7. I just remember looking at it, laughing a little bit, and then just wondering what was going on. I was like, I got 7. But it was cool. It is what it is. So I recommend just a trailing stop. So like if you're up 30, 20, let's say 15%, maybe move your stops to 0. And you get up like 23, 24%. Okay. Move your stops up to 10%. Then you're up like 30, 40. Move your stops up to 20, 25. And I detail this in how to maximize your profit. So then it goes your way. You can just keep inching your stops up. And you can be a little bit more aggressive as you get deeper into profit. So like if you're up 70%, you move your stops up to, 50. It's not bad. Now you're risking 20%, but you're staying tight, right? Don't wait for a home run. Okay. Magnum Music, yeah. So how do I use unusual whales? Well, I mean, if I see a heavy flow coming in against my trade, and I know that it is substantial and it's such that it would offset what I saw the day before, then that could be an indication for me to get out. But keep in mind, you have to remember what you saw, not just panic. Because it's so easy to see, let's say, $13 million in bullish premiums on unusual whales. Then you start watching the live flow and you're in a bullish trade. It's going your way. And then you see a few option purchases come in for, 40,000, 30,000, 40,000, and they're bearish, right? And then you get out of your trade. It's like you got caught in the moment. You were fixated on what you saw. You saw bullish, you saw red, you panicked, and maybe you saw a little bit of a pullback on price. You totally forgot why you got into this trade. And you forgot that, 1, it wasn't time for you to exit strategically, and 2, those premiums are nothing compared to what you saw when forming the trade. So just be careful with that. Don't let things freak you out or just get you in the moment, because in the moment, everything's amplified. Every little pullback is amplified. Every little piece of news, it gets amplified. Take a step back, and sizing down will help you with that, because you won't feel like you're under the gun and everything is hyper pressure situation. Trading is stressful and high pressure enough. Let's see. I got questions. I love that you only call out 2 to 3 stocks, not 10 to 15. I could do 10 to 15, right? I could do 10 to 15 with lower conviction, and I know some will hit, and I'll just retweet everybody, and I'll be like, I have 1 million followers. Love you guys. Mwah. Let's get an airplane. Everybody's awesome. I think those people they're con artists. I know what they are. I know what they know about trading. I know who they are as individuals. I grew up around people like that. And I don't like people like that, period. Not on a personal or a professional level. And they're conning good people out of their money. I grew up without a lot of money, so I take it really hard when I see people go after retail, because I know that people struggle. You guys saw my 29 years old, moved to Las Vegas, and I'm making a ton of money. And, my quote was, I'm happy that I'm helping people get jobs. So you kind of know where my priority was. It wasn't about getting a Lamborghini tomorrow and then balling out. I just, I could buy cars. I could buy things I like. I like to see people suffer because I was one of those people. So when I see them, I think of myself. And that hurts. Yeah. So before, when I did furu style, lost a ton of money. Yeah. I got questions. Yeah. That's what happens. Mandeep, how'd you manage to ride after the lost 20,000? How long did it take you? What was your mindset shift? How you built? Yeah, I went over that, and yeah, I didn't ride, so that delayed my owning a car. And I was leasing one by then, but yeah, it delayed a lot. Had some weekends where I couldn't afford gas because of what I did. So yeah, exposure, moving slow, and separating who I am versus who I was. Right. That's a big thing too when it comes to change, because you almost feel like reverting to what you did because you can't separate who you are and where you are versus what you were doing. Reina, blew up my account today. No, Reina, no. I'm changing everything. My entire strategy has gone to bleep. I'm way too distracted to even focus and pay attention. Damn kids. Thank God I had a small account. Can't, you have to size, you have to set stop losses. I get it, but you can't do that. I don't know what trades you took, but yeah. Do you only day trade Stanley Stackhouse? No. Stanley, I manage private equity. I work with private clients as well. What are some tips for stop loss and contracts more than a week out? Yeah, I do underlying. I don't do too many swing trades right now. So anything that I have set up as a swing is more than likely is actually just hedge for me. So I do hedge on my positions. I should have hedged harder on Facebook a few weeks ago. I'm still bitter about that. So no, I hold a lot of underlying. I scaled out quite a bit, so I'm not doing nearly as much, which is good, but we are looking to build some positions in a variety of different securities. Just, I don't feel as though the environment is appropriate quite yet. Let's see here. If you write your structure and strategy and read your rules every day, it will help. Feel free to clip this, Reina, and listen to it wherever you see value in this video. Yeah, because that is rule, that discipline and structure, everything that I discussed. You can't just break those stop losses. There's no blowing up accounts. There's never a day where you could blow up an account because you're day trading. If we were swinging trades and something gapped down and crushed you, you have an excuse. If there was any other, it was a long term, you have an excuse. You're day trading, there's no excuse because you were there to stop out. In the after hours, you can't stop out. You can't trade. You can gap down, you can get torched, and there's nothing you could do about it. You have control in day trading. You just didn't push the button. You didn't push the button. You chose not to push the button. When it said -8 and you're watching it and your finger was ready and it says -10, and you looked at it and you're like, nope. And it went -12, you're like, it's going to come back. And then you're at -18 and you didn't push the button. It's your choice. It's the wrong choice. And we talked about why. So just remember that, everyone. Amir Fard, Peter, do you trade options in the pre-market? What do you look at when first picking a contract? I don't, Amir, but I look at the evening before and I try to anticipate what we're going to see the next day. Yeah. Sometimes you can have open interest close and you can have changes. That's why I'm very cautious about that. And, I sometimes will change my strikes during the day, but I won't call it out and I won't celebrate that, because if I didn't say it to the group, then that's it. I'll keep my mouth shut. It's, this what I try to do on my Twitter. It's not about my ego. I'm not there for my ego. If I wanted to pad my ego, I was a 29-year-old CEO of an Inc. 50, and I took my company being Inc. 50 company twice, and I didn't care to pad my ego then because, I got it beat out of me growing up the way that I grew up. Not to say I got beat growing up, but I mean, my ego got beat out of me because I had so little, right? So yeah, I only call out what, or we'll only discuss what I mentioned to the group. And I look for my options data the day before. RS, thank you. Appreciate it. Adina, thank you, Adina. Let's see, something that's helped me a lot of retaining my capital is not to trade every day. I used to force myself. Yeah, don't force your trade to trade. If you're extremely disciplined, you can trade every day. There was a comment left by Anthony. And he said, this is too tight. This is too erratic. It's choppy. Not good trading environment. I retweeted it because I thought that was a beautiful thing to say. I've connected with Anthony. He's smart. He's a smart guy, and that was a good decision. I said early in the morning, I said, this is choppy environment. Now, I don't know who is specifically, I can't start listing names and saying at so-and-so, don't trade, at you, don't trade, at you, trade. There's 13,000 people following. It wouldn't work. So I was glad that Anthony did that, and I retweeted it because I wanted people to see, like, hey, it's okay. Here's a smart guy who does well, and he's not doing it today because he's not there yet. He's not comfortable. And maybe he'll never be comfortable with that situation. And that's okay. I called out and I said, this is going to be choppy. Yeah, Facebook was perfect. AMD was tricky. NVIDIA was tricky. And AMD, second entry, was great. So you don't have to trade every day. So let's see here. Gabriela Castro, I don't do cents, but I'll do trailing stops based on percentage. Do you have any videos on how to spot a false breakout? Desiru, so typically what I'm doing is I'm looking at the markets, right? So this was a good example. NVIDIA wasn't interesting to me here because of what I saw in the QQQ. So we're going to go back to the QQQ. Saw this, right? This was a little bit of pause, but I saw some indecision here. Like we're up and then we're down, we're up, then we're down. So I want to see if it would sustain. As we started pushing up, I took a little bit more interest. I was looking for entries. That doesn't materialize, it's okay. And then we pull back and then we start breaking up. I think, okay, here we've stabilized, right? And I don't care the whole, like, oh, it's a doji or it's a, shooting star or whatever you see here. It's a cross. People have all their terms for it. It's a bearish pin bar. Yeah, well, there were two in a row. So, and then it's the bullish pin bar, right? So you can see how all the just candle patterns end up making no sense. You could take this one and go, oh, bearish pin bar, and then it broke down, knew it. Okay, how about here? Moved up. Well, you had another one. Oh, it moved up again. Okay, you get the idea. I started seeing some consistency in this big candle. I think that gave us some entries. So I do look at the markets and see what they're doing. Particularly in it, you want it to be the relevant market. For NVIDIA, I'm looking at the QQQ. For AMD, Facebook, and Lucid, it's the same thing. Okay, let's see. RS, great job. You're using the trailing stop pretty frequently. Magna Music, I adjust the premium filter. I adjusted to what I had it at the day before. I want to see something significant. Yeah. And on Fridays, I kind of bring it down, right? Because it's expiry same day. True consolidation makes me nervous lately. Understandable. Expiries are weekly. Yep. Any recommendations on using option contracts with the use of extra tools? Oh, yeah. If you don't have any tools like, well, first of all, if you're on Robinhood and they don't offer any tools like stop losses or anything like that, then maybe you need a different broker. But indicators, no. RSI and MACD, I don't really care for on the day, no. RSI I'll look at after the markets are closed. I'll just see the general take on where things are, but no, not while I'm trading live. It doesn't mean anything to me. You get people trying to sell you like, I'm looking for the MACD and the RSI and this to work. Yeah, you just call an artist and what you're talking about. If it was that easy, we'd all just have indicators on, and when they move, you get a little light that says buy, and you get a light that says sell, and we'd all just be perfectly trading all the time. Pretty Lily, I don't know if you mentioned it, but how long did it take you to be comfortable trading? Let's see. It's hard to say, right? Because it's a progression. There's never a morning where I woke up and said, okay, that's it. I'm awesome. I'm comfortable trading. Because I had a lot of those mornings and then I sucked, and those would be my worst days. The day where I felt the most comfortable would often be my worst days. I'd be like, I got this. I'm going in heavier. I understand this. I'm comfortable now. I can read the market. I'm Neo and I'm in the matrix and I just see numbers on the screen. I can do this. That'll be my worst day. So it's tough to say. I stopped caring about a lot of it other than adhering to my process, and that's all that mattered. I just tried to go numb to it. So I never really had this moment where I was like, I woke up and I felt like Superman. It was just tumbling. So time frame to get to a good place, yeah, over a year. Yeah. But nobody helped me. That was the thing. Like I worked in that industry, right? And still nobody helped me. It's just like, oh, you gotta, do this and that. And everybody had, it's like the little things people would say would be like one sentence, furu style, right? It would just be like one line, and then it would just be one element. So it wouldn't be in great context. Like you can't take one line from someone like, oh, always look for consolidation and then a breakout to the whatever, to this, to that. You need more context. That's why, it's again why I criticize furus. Because I understand that people who like to use one line are hiding in the obscurity. They know that you can interpret it any way, and if you do it the way that isn't favorable, they'll be like, no, that's not what I meant. Good, Pretty Lily. You should pat yourself on the back for expecting your stop losses. 10 to 5, if the system skips your stop loss, hit market sell. I hate hitting market sell, but if you've got a system that's just not working, just get out, right? When it's time to get out, it's time to get out. How many tickers do you watch at a time? Josh Tatum, I'll review up to like 100 tickers in an evening. It depends. Sometimes it's less, sometimes more. But I've explained this before. Like, it doesn't take as long when I'm reviewing the same securities, if that makes sense. Like, if I looked at AMD every day this week and I look at it tonight, it's not going to take me as long, whereas if AMD was a new entry on my list, right? Because when I'm doing my fundamental work, not a lot's changed. It's just sort of price action and options flow and that sort of thing. So it really depends, right? Let's see. Eric, what's a day in the life of profits taken look like from wake to bedtime? Somebody asked me if I could do like a live vlog of a day in the life. I don't know. I'm kind of boring. I'm sure I'd be boring to most people. Like, you're not going to see me racing my car and cutting people off. I have nice cars and that sort of thing, but it's like, yeah, Eric, I'm usually up. So I'm trying to think of, I don't know what time zone everybody's on. I'll just tell you in my time zone. I'm up like maybe latest about 6 my time. I like to be up at like 5:30, but sometimes I sleep a little bit longer. So, step one is I try to see if my dog is dead set on eating, is going to follow me and go nuts. But after I do that sort of thing, I'll wake up. I usually like to meditate a little bit. Hydrate, meditate, make some tea. If I'm trading from home, then I'll get my workstation ready and I'll just start booting up. I make sure my phone's off so I can focus. I'll drink my tea and then I'll just start doing my research. Usually at about 8 o'clock my time, 30 minutes before the bell, sometimes a little bit earlier, I'll start turning on social media and that sort of thing. And then I get to work, and then, I don't eat till later in the day. I fast every day. I don't want to get too much into the medical science of this, but you're much more focused when you're fasted, particularly as you get used to it. I have a low carb style, and I do that partly for mental and cognitive performance. Like I said, I do have an education in neuroscience. No, I'm not a neurologist, so please, I'd love to help people with everything in their lives, but if you have a neurological condition, please advise with a neurologist. And then, I'll trade through the day. In the morning, I'm usually always working with private clients. So I'm doing that with Twitter, which, a couple months ago I posted, I got everyone's okay. No one's really averse to what I do. You guys know, I don't even call out the furus that are running scams. So I would never disclose any private information of anybody that I work with. And I have several windows open. I make sure that I'm ready to make trades. And I usually set up some stop losses and that sort of thing for underlying. So for what I do for private equity and helping log in with my private clients, I have that all set up, ready to go. We have our game plan the night before. We're not doing as much day trading. So yeah, I get that sorted in the AM, and then I'll trade through the day and then back and forth. And if I can, I'll get out to the gym. I'm really big on working out. Get home and get straight to it. And in the evening, if I have free time, I try to answer questions with you guys. If I am taking time to myself, it'll usually just, if it's not family time, I'll always, and I try to go for like a walk and get out of the house just to see some sunlight. I'll always try and take some family time in there too. And if I could play some games with my friends, I like strategy games. My friends a couple of them might even be in here. That's it sort of from morning to evening, just to sort of abbreviate it. Maybe one day I will record that vlog where you kind of see me get up, and I'll wait for a day when I'm working with clients. If I have meetings, I usually go to the office. So when I do that, like if I have clients coming in from out of town that want to meet, sort of thing, is, coffee shop doesn't really make sense to sit and discuss for prolonged amount of times. So what I'll do is I'll go to an office and just work from there, and I set up. And for that kind of thing, I'm usually in the car. by like 5:45 a.m. Trying to get in pretty early. I might stop at a coffee shop. Depends on when I can get into the office. And then we'll go from there. But it's the same kind of process. That's a little bit more meeting and discussion and going over different things. And yeah, so it's a lot involved. Maybe I'll record that. And then I get in my Ferrari, bro, and I cut people off and I speed around. I talk about making millies and like, no, I'm kidding. Not like that at all. I think people like that are donkeys. I'm trying to pick a good word. I actually like donkeys. I think they're wonderful animals. Let's see here. So I love what you said about sizing. I found myself in the exact position where I didn't cut a stop loss. Lucky I ended green, but yeah, size down. You guys heard me. I was very clear there. I think it was pretty harsh. And good. If that's you, you need to hear something harsh because you're obviously not listening to anything else. Replay that 100 times in your head. You haven't earned the right to use bigger sizes, period. Let's see here. If Russia went to war with the ticker doesn't care about your resistance support lines. Yeah, Anthony. Yeah, it's like it's the thought of this like support. This is a super strong support zone. What are you talking about? No, there's a war. There's no support. What happened with Nvidia today? Right, we got out. Where's your support at 240? Oh, guess what? Here's where Nvidia went. 231. Right? Yeah, get out of here with the support. And the problem with support and resistance zones and technical analysis, they help me with entries. But for all these people who are speaking otherwise, like they're the end all be all, here's the problem. It's such a scam. It's like, what happened to your support zone here? You always have a new one. Oh, there's support here. Oh, this is another zone. Well, it's a full zone. It's not a level. It's a zone. What's the zone? Is this the entire zone? How about you just say $100 to $500 is your zone on Nvidia? No, you can't be wrong. They're constantly moving. And when you look at their charts, some of them really do believe in this hocus pocus where they have like 50 different targets, 50 different zones. And they're like, oh yeah, dude, that zone didn't hold, but see how this zone held? Like, one of those people would be the same person who says 230 was the support. It's like, see how it bounced 231? Yeah. But to get there, it broke through like 50 different zones. Of course, it's going to stop somewhere unless it goes to zero. And if it goes to zero, you'll be like, zero is the ultimate zone of support. It's like, get out of here. Go con people and take photos of yourself because I just see these people as insecure. Like, if you see me posting, I don't know, I don't want to get on a rant here, but when I became CEO, living in Las Vegas, the flashiest city, if you're one of my friends, you saw my Facebook, nobody even knew. No one knew when I got my job with P&G. I was their youngest hire to that position in history. No one knew. I didn't tell anybody because I don't care. Because I don't care to talk about money with my friends and family, right? I don't want to brag to anybody. I didn't post pictures on my Facebook. I had a condo in Las Vegas overlooking the Strip. It was a beautiful condo. I was just thankful for it. I didn't post photos of it. I didn't post a picture of me sitting on my car. People like that, you're screaming insecurity, and you need Twitter people that you don't know, strangers, to make you feel better about your small little life. You need therapy is what you need. But this is your therapy. You need people to tell you that they love you. That's how I see a lot of these furus. And you're conning them out of their money. Like you're the worst. It's the worst kind of person. You're a con artist and you're a small person. So I'm not posting, I did this and did that and I'm so cool and I'm so great. And that's what I think of those people. So yeah, their lines don't matter. Detail stop loss entry. Yes, Thomas, entries and exits. I have a few of those. NVIDIA might hit the trigger again. Alpha folks, yeah. Caps, what kind of dog do you have? I have a beagle. I'm obsessed with her. She's the best. Her name is Hinata. Hinata the Beagle, or Hinata Beagle as we call her. Hinata Beagle Tar. So, but yeah, I have a beagle. I love beagles. I will always have beagle. But I like animals in general, except for crocodiles. I'm not cool with crocodiles. I really dislike crocodiles. And I got into a spat with a goat once, even though I'm cool with goats, but it soured the relationship for a little bit. He hit me in the knee really hard, and I was really upset. But yeah, in general, I like animals, not to go on a tangent. And I love all kinds of dogs. I'm a big dog person. Gabriela Castro, wonderful dog. I adore beagles. Yeah. Can you speak to how you filter your news feed at some point? Yeah, Kevin, we can maybe, it's an overwhelm. Yeah. Kevin, yes, analysis paralysis, Benzinga. Oh, you went for essential. Okay. Yeah, there's going to be a lot there. Maybe I can get to that, but you're 100% right. There's a lot coming at you, but it's better than having that sort of fluff news being thrown on you. Yeah, Thomas, furus, yeah, it's calls and puts because if they're wrong one place, they go to the other, right? It's like, oh, I didn't get that. Oh, let's celebrate. I was right no matter what. Five, and they always have 5 plays per day, which is impossible because the market doesn't give you 5 per day, but somehow they always have it. Brian, you're one wonderful teacher. I'll try sending again. Having one wonderful evening. Thanks, Brian. I will try to look in there. I got questions. You don't seem like a Ferrari guy, more like a ride a bike kind of guy. Thanks. I got questions. I don't have a Ferrari. I don't care for a Ferrari. I actually don't even care for high performance cars, to be honest. Just they're not practical. I'm a guy that likes to put my sports equipment in the back and bring my pup. I don't want to get into things I've had, but it doesn't make sense. I had what do you do with a 2-seater? You're riding with one other person. It just shows how big your ego is. You're all about yourself. Unless you're like a really car enthusiast, then bless you. Have fun. A few weeks of follow you, learn more about my trading style and tolerance than I had in a year of trading. Thank you. Thanks, D. Wallace. I appreciate that. And Gabrielle, I agree. Anthony Sanford, she's probably a better trader than even my dog. Yeah, she probably is a better trader. She trades all the time. Actually, she tries to trade for treats. Like, she'll bring me one of her stuffed animals and try to trade me. I'm like, I bought that for you. And she's like, do you want it or not? I'm like, okay, I'll trade you for a treat. So she's all about making deals. That's what beagles do. They like to make deals. But you'd better stick to your deal. And so she talk about being disciplined to a stop loss. Do not wrong a beagle. They don't forget. But if you reward them, they don't forget either. So it's the right kind of dog for me because I have that trading discipline. Got Josh Tatum, goat versus goat. Yeah, hit me in the knee. Just heads up for everybody. If you ever get goats or if you're near one, their heads are like, imagine a granite ashtray. That's how their heads feel. He hit me in the knee with his head. And I don't know if it was on purpose. Your watch list is great, Peter. Thanks for all your work. Thanks, Amir. Appreciate it. What percentage of your portfolio is buy and hold plays? So Thrifty J13, it varies over time, right? So most points in the year, it's a greater percentage of my portfolio is allocated to buy and hold or to underlying commons. That'll be 70-80% typically through the year. It changed dramatically. There's about a month ago now, I talked about how I was scaling out of my positions, moving to more of a cash position. I do hold about a third of my portfolio in underlying, but that is a dramatic pullback and scale out. So I'm not completely out. I don't believe in fire sales and I have different reasons because some of the, like I said, sometimes some of the underlying plays that I have are really successful for writing options, and so I continue to be profitable there. And that's mirrored on some of the private equity funds that I advise for, some of the private clients I have, and for the private equity that I manage. We work in tandem. I'm sort of the fund manager across the board for that. I have some clients who, they have discretion, so I'm not stealing their lives from them and doing everything, but they'll be a little bit off, but we generally move in tandem. So, yeah. With a 1K account, take one contract, you can go 25% in to 50, so $250 to maybe 500. Eric, do you have a daily stop loss limit for your account, like a percentage? No, I don't look at it globally on the account. I look at the moves that I'm taking. But and then on different securities for underlying, they're all in different places, right? Because I've been holding those positions for some time. So it depends on how you perceive it. If you're talking about day trading, that's one thing. But I separate them, right? Because I don't look at it and say, oh, well, if I include all of my underlying, I'm ahead 64% on the year, and then say, but I'm down X percent on my day trades. I segment them all. Yeah. Because it's completely different, right? Like I'm not going to celebrate what I'm doing underlying. That's separate. My day trades are individual. I don't even think about my day trades in proportion to other day trades. That's why I say short memory. Like if I lost 10% 4 times in a row and it's time for me to take another trade, sure, I'm probably going to think, what the heck is going on today? Did I do something wrong in my research? Because that's abnormal for me. But all else equal, I'll take another trade. You just have to separate it. Okay, so do you know or to park money from a large house sale, 1 million before initially investing. Let me see here. I don't trust the markets enough right now to move that in. You can go into bonds. Rates are going to be rising. So Donald Wilson, that may provide an opportunity for you. Yeah. Keep your eyes on the market, but I think it's dangerous to be in the markets fully invested right now. Thomas, go over what I said. Hard change, bad habits, and you need to scale down. Scale down until you can do it, right? You just have to find a way to scale down until you can do it. And there are some discipline exercises you could take just in your regular life. Try making any kind of change. And if you could stick to that, then you can trust yourself to make changes for your trading as well. If you can't stick to it, then maybe you can't on trading. But you can work yourself into that mindset and make those changes accordingly. It just has to be exposure, step by step. Okay, guys, so I'll take last question or two and then we'll wrap this up. And I'll give about 15 seconds. And just give me 1 second, write your questions in here. I'll take a quick pause. Okay. All right. So that looks like that's all the questions for today, guys. Thank you so much for being around today. Sorry for some little pauses and drops in my voice. I've been pretty badly under the weather for the last day or two and not sleeping. I still get up and get to work. So I'm a little bit off today. But hopefully I'll kick it and I'll be good by Tuesday and we'll be ready to rock. Appreciate all of you. Please remember what I said. Please apply it. Don't just listen and walk off and kind of get back to what you've always done. All right. So thank you. Stick at it. And we'll see you guys soon. Have an awesome weekend. And thank you for the well wishes. Appreciate it. All of you. All right. Thanks, guys.